Welcome, guys, to episode 13. Lucky 13, depending on where you're from. But welcome to episode 13 of Gaming TI. I'm one of your hosts, Imani.
And I'm Tristan.
And today we're going to talk about only a couple things, but you know how we like to go off on tangents sometimes. But we're going to start with some Overwatch news, current state of Overwatch. Tristan's got us with that. Then we're going to see if we could jump into Neuralink for a little bit. We've been mentioning it, here and there for a while. So we figure, hey, it's time to just officially, let's just talk about it, give you our thoughts, opinions on it. Might be the future. And then we're going to probably end it off a little bit with some talk about that Apple tax. If you buy an Apple product, you get hit with that Apple tax. That's why Apple stuff is so expensive. How expensive, though, and how big is that tax compared to some other companies? Well, we'll talk about that, too. So, Let's just jump in with Overwatch first.
Yeah. Well, you watching like Overwatch streamers and stuff? Like, I know you used to, but...
I used to, yeah. I can't say that I've been on Overwatch as much anymore.
I don't know if you know this Overwatch streamer named Iman. His Twitch name is Iman GG.
Yep.
And he kind of stirred up the Overwatch community with the wink. He calls it the wink that changed Overwatch. On stream, he kind of says he has a feeling that the developers are going to be making changes that's going to move the game in the right direction. And then he turns to his camera and he winks. And he was like, but I can't say for sure. I don't know what's going to happen. And then he winks again. I have no idea, but I think...
Wink.
And then he was like, I don't know, but I think there might be a developer update in the next 2 weeks that everyone's going to be happy about. And then he winks again.
Hit you with that wink, wink.
So a lot of people have been like clamoring and like speculating what it could be. And to add to that, to the, I guess, hype, Jeff Kaplan, head of the Overwatch development team, he made a forum post on the Overwatch, the Overwatch forum.
Yeah, the official Overwatch forum.
Yeah, the official Overwatch forum, not like Reddit or anything. The official Overwatch forum.
Right.
And he spoke about long DPS queues since implementing role queue in Overwatch. It's like DPS queue is like 10 to 15 minutes at a time, and he wants to fix that. So they were thinking about, instead of implementing a 2-2-2 system, like 2 tanks, 2 damage, 2 supports, have a 3-2-1 system. But that's like a radical change to the game. So people think it could be that, but not necessarily.
By the way, break down what you mean by 3-2-1, because most people might think 3-2-1 might mean 3 tanks, 2 DPS, 1 support.
Well,
but it's not.
Nah, it's 3 DPS, 1 tank, and 2 supports.
Right.
So currently in Overwatch, there's a main tank that absorbs a lot of pressure, takes space, controls the map.
Yeah, we're talking about like the Reinhardts and stuff.
And then the off tank would support the main tank and like support the backline.
The ones that can sometimes be classified as DPS instead of just tank.
Basically, like
Roadhog Diva, so on.
Yeah, but to do that change, you would be taking away the off tank category because there would be no need for it, and then the main tanks would have to be like even more tankier because they'd have to support themselves. They have no off tank to support them.
Yeah.
So that would be a major change. In the post, they say they made a playtest of Roadhog as a DPS, and he had like 400 HP. He still had the hook, but the only difference is that the Take Your Breather, when he heals himself, didn't have damage reduction as well.
Oh.
But that's still like a monster DPS though.
Yeah, no, I mean, a DPS with a pool that big, that's still tanky. And I mean, the fact that he can heal himself. What DPS, other than Soldier and Mei, like Mei, Bastion, Soldier, those are like the 3 main DPS that can heal themselves, right?
Mm-hmm.
And I feel like Bastion is so situational. When he goes into his turret mode, he becomes an extremely high damage dealer, but he's stationary. So that puts him at big risk, right? Soldier's a really deadly pick just in general because of how simple his kit is. But at the same time, he's able to sprint. and that pulse grenade and healing himself. If you were able to hit your shots shooting and then, with the pulse grenade, you can really like blast down some people quick and then put down healing if necessary. But I still feel like having Roadhog running around as a DPS with 400 health and able to heal himself, that's like May on steroids. Except because crowd control with the hook, May can still freeze people, but that hook and pulling people to you and then dealing that kind of damage, because Roadhog used to be a one-shot character for like everybody. And I don't know, like Roadhog as DPS, I've never liked Roadhog. That hook's always been cursed.
Yeah, it gives you nightmares, yo.
Yeah. I mean, looking back at early Overwatch days, like that hook was you get pulled from behind walls.
You get pulled through the floor. Like if you could get hooked on the high ground and get pulled through the floor.
Yeah, that was nightmare days. But I don't know. Seeing him running around as just a straight DPS, I don't know if I'd like that.
I think in the past that might have been like a huge problem. But in the current state of Overwatch, where there's like so much mobility, I think he would be fairly balanced. Probably not as first. They would probably need to lower his health pool a bit. He's still a thick boy. He's still really big, and to shred through a Roadhog, even now with 600 HP, if he is out of position, it's pretty easy if you focus on.
Yeah, for sure.
So I don't think he would be the strongest DPS because you'd just be annoying to play against in certain situations.
Yeah, and I think also the fact is having another DPS, that might actually be a case where now he gets focused a lot quicker and he gets dealt with a lot quicker, because now you have 3 DPSs on your team. I think the class that might struggle the most
Support.
Exactly, I was about to say.
Yeah.
As a support player myself, I can already see it coming. I might have to stop playing Mercy because
you're just gonna have to stop playing, You can't play because the thing is, right? Even like right now with 2 DPS and 2 tanks to heal, and you only need to worry about their 2 DPS. You could get flustered when you see that critical logo all over the map.
Yeah.
It's like, all right, I have to make a decision. Who do I let die here?
Exactly. 90% of the times, depending on the situation, I almost always go for healing the tank, especially if their shields are lower or anything, just because they can sustain more damage over time if I heal them. Whereas, if I go and heal a DPS, they can get burst down so quickly even while I'm healing them. So most of the times it's more worthwhile to heal a tank just to get their health up and then have them hold off while I try to go and heal the DPS.
Well, it depends on the situation.
Yeah, it's very situational.
The thing is, in the forum post, because it was a really long post, it's like a 5,000 word essay or something like that.
Damn.
It was long because they were like really testing it. They say in internal testing, the support players hated it because they were really stressed. Yet they had like only one tank to focus healing on, and they could heal the other DPS. But the thing is, you could have a situation where there's a Widowmaker on the other team, and along with that Widowmaker, you have to worry about a Trace and a Genji.
Yeah. It's like less of the fact of that there's, less tanks to heal and more of the fact that there's now another DPS to worry about. Before it was a case of, it was even across the board, you could kind of stay huddled in the middle of everybody. Now it's going to be a case of you technically have one tank that you can kind of stay behind and stay with, while at least 2 of your DPS are going to be going off who knows where. At least 2 of them, if not all of them. And then it's basically like you're going to be sitting there with yourself and one tank and then maybe the other support if they're not running around trying to take care of the DPSs that are running around, which just leaves you wide open to other DPS coming at you.
The thing is, though, 3-2-1 is not new, if you think about it.
No, it's been done before, but like it's new because of role queue.
So because of role queue that forced the 2-2-2 lock, then that's why people are looking at it like, why go back to what we wanted to abolish? This is what we hated. We hated having 3 DPS players in every game. We want to force the DPS players off of DPS.
Except the DPS players are like, I'll take these long queues though.
I'll wait this for this 10 to 15 minute game. And as a DPS
Yeah.
player, yeah, that's exactly what I do.
Yeah, that is what you do.
I saw a meme the other day, like, let me just queue up for DPS, and like the Interstellar meme. This little maneuver is gonna cost us 51
Uh,
years.
yo. I've seen a screenshot where the loading time was over an hour. It was well into an hour.
Yeah, like if you're like top 500 playing at certain times, your wait time is insane. I think the former pro player Defran, when Rule Q first came out, and I think he was rank one or close to rank one, and it's like a meme in his stream now that he has like the little queue time, an hour and 24 minutes to get a game.
That's literally, hey, let me go play another game while this game loads.
Basically, he was just like watching YouTube videos with his chat and stuff. Like, for a point in time, I don't know what they did to make the queue times a bit faster, but for a point in time, like these streamers, people literally watch entire episodes of shows while they're in Overwatch queue.
I remember I sent you that meme the other day when it's like, how they have the other game modes while you're waiting, but then they added like Crunchyroll, Netflix, Funimation. It's like, why not watch a movie while you wait?
Yeah, basically. Like that's how I ended up watching the New Witcher. Like I was in queue. I was like, yo, I might as well.
Yo, give me support or tank. I don't know. I've never been. I can't say never. Early days Overwatch when I first started, I was a hardcore Genji main. Like I used to play on PS4. So even when I check my account now, my Genji time is still like within the top 5 characters that I play. And that's after playing multiple seasons as Zarya and as Mercy. The main reason I even started playing Mercy was because I needed a support character and I kind of sucked as everybody else. It was like, how hard can Mercy be, right?
Mercy is hard, yo. In our current state, Mercy is really hard.
No, honestly, like when I first started playing Mercy, I struggled. I struggled really hard. But then you start to get into the flow of things. You start to realize how easy of a prey you are. And that's kind of what made me develop into like if you come at me by yourself, I'm going to shoot you. Like, and 90% of the times that's enough to either actually get a kill on a DPS because their pride gets in the way. It's like, I can't die to Mercy. I'm going to kill you before you kill me. And I'm like, I don't know about that.
Well, then again, your hitbox is broken.
It has to be.
Mercy has a broken hitbox here. There's a lot of time I will hit a shot that's like, oh, that shot just went 3 ahead. Okay, that's cool.
Hey, it went through. It just passed by her hair, man. The halo,
It's the halo, right? Yeah.
Bruh. I think the thing about role queue, what it kind of changed about Overwatch in a pretty big way is, yes, it locks everybody into role. But the thing is, in the early days before role queue, and when you were able to, like, you did have the 3-2-1 setups already. There was still a case of you weren't locked into it. It was, you can flex, pick. And I think the case of having a 3-2-1 role queue is, I think they're going to need to add flexing somehow. There needs to be a flex. You need to be able to adjust, because I think if it's just straight 3-2-1 just to reduce wait times, that might have more of a negative impact on gameplay than a positive one.
I don't think anyone wants that. Even Jeff Kaplan said he gets a lot of pushback from his team for that, because he wants to push it, but no one else wants to push it. Like, playing in 3 DPS games were not really fun for me, because I'm a DPS main, and a lot of the time in those 3 DPS games, the other DPS weren't DPS mains, or they would be one other DPS main and then one person who's just tilted, so they're playing DPS.
Yeah, and that's what would happen. I feel like there's going to be a lot of support characters who are going to be, or support players who are going to be like, you know what, fine, I'm just going to play DPS since everybody else is doing it.
Yeah, so you still end up having to carry, but you don't have the support because you don't have another tank to absorb pressure for you, to take space for you.
Exactly.
So you end up having to do more work, or you get 3 DPS mains and like you only need 2 DPS so that you basically do nothing all game. Either way is not a fun situation. And plus your support can't heal you because they're
No,
too busy fighting other DPS.
exactly. They're too busy trying to defend themselves rather than. So honestly, a character like Mercy, a character who is strictly healing, is going to somewhat become outlawed. You're going to have characters like um, Anna, who can sleep people just to kind of be able to protect herself.
I don't think Anna, bro. I don't think Anna will get played at all, actually. Just because, like, yeah, you have sleep and you have need, but you have one of that on like long
Right. How often
cooldowns.
does it cool down? Cool down.
Yeah,
So then we're talking about this is just
Moira.
going to become more of a exactly. I was going to say this is just going to become more of a Moira meta.
Yeah,
So and Lucio, because Lucio can protect himself in the sense of he can get away.
yeah, and he has that defensive support ult to it'll basically just be Moira Lucio, honestly.
Yeah, I'm not liking that. I'm not
Yeah,
liking that at all.
those are like Lucio. You either love to play Lucio or you never touch him. That's just the year he is. And
Mhm.
Moira, no one likes to play Moira.
No
That's
one likes to play against Moira. Nobody really likes to play Moira, but you have to play Moira.
Yeah, she's just like necessary evil.
The way it also differs before roll queue became a thing is when you pick 3-2-1 pre roll queue, that could be a surprise in the sense of you don't know for sure what the other team is picking.
Mm-hmm.
So when you go into a game and you're just locked in and you know what's coming, it's not going to be fun. I don't think it's going to be productive. But whereas before, it was a case of, I remember I've had games when 4 DPS and 2 healers and we've won.
Yeah,
And the main reason for that is just because they had no idea what was coming. It's that
yeah,
element of surprise. And in a 3-2-1 roll queue, there is no element of surprise.
yeah. Basically, a lot of the times with the old games, they would come out on 2-2-2, but because you had so much more threats than them, because you have more DPS and you had no tank, so there's no one for them to focus. Especially if you have mobile DPS and mobile support. So if you had like a Mercy, Lucy, or something like that, that could work just simply just by they not having anyone to target. You just basically play deathmatch Overwatch against them who are trying to play Overwatch. And it's like, nope, we're not playing Overwatch here today, bro.
Yeah.
We're playing deathmatch, and you just roll them.
It's deathmatch today. Yeah, it was basically like it was kind of divey. You just kind of went in, you took out, and then you kind of got out if you needed to. But with this, I can anticipate what's coming. So it loses its element of surprise, and yeah, it just becomes a miserable experience.
I don't think that's what the wink was about. I don't think we're gonna get that. So a lot of people were speculating too that it might be bans, like hero bans.
Ah, yes, I did hear about this.
For some reason, I'm not sure why. People think that hero bans will cause more diversity.
Well, explain what hero bands are, because they do exist in some other games.
Basically, there's the meta. The meta is basically the combination of heroes and the team composition that's easiest to play with like 6 random people that just get placed together. You don't know any of these people, so you just want to find the group of heroes that's easiest to just pick and play and complement each other well. So it's the most efficient composition, you could say, right?
The combination that has a very good synergy in terms of abilities and so on.
So the hero ban is to ban one hero from the games. Like while you're in the lobby, you ban one hero from that match, and each team gets to ban one hero. So for each match, there will be 2 banned heroes. And a lot of people are thinking, like, if you get into a game, you ban 2 meta characters, then everyone else is free real estate, right? You could just come into that slot, because if dive is meta, like dive is meta right now, bro. Like, I tried to play Anna last night. It was not fun. You can't play Anna because this is a little bit of a tangent, but I don't know if you saw Diva had a 3-second booster cooldown now
To her what?
for boosters.
Oh, her booster. My bad. I think it's a
Yeah,
3-second cooldown. I didn't hear the booster part.
yeah, it's a 3-second cooldown now, so she could just fly all over the map. So you can't get away from her ever as a support, like especially as a still support like Anna. You can't get away from her. The dive comes in, and yeah, let's say you make a nice play, you get away from one of the dive tanks, like you sleep one of them or something,
Right.
and you get behind a corner and your team peels for you in 3 seconds or less than 3 seconds. She's gonna come after you again, and you're dead.
And the thing about Ana too is her rate of fire is predictable, and I don't know what it is and how it compares to Diva's shield matrix, but a good Diva can probably block every other Ana shot.
Not just a shots of cooldowns. The needs on a sleep, that's the biggest defensive ability. I'm not gonna waste my sleep into your defense matrix, and you're just gonna like kill me when it runs out. So I guess I'll just die. So yeah, can't play Ana.
Yeah, if there's a Diva in the match, it becomes very difficult.
Yeah, so you have to switch to Moira, right? Because that's the only hero that could get away from the dive.
Mm-hmm.
And a lot of people are thinking, well, like if dive becomes meta, to get more diversity, let's just ban the dive tanks so that you can't play dive. Just ban Winston or Wrecking Ball and Diva. Now, that sounds good, but here's the thing. If I load into a game and I see that my team bans a meta character, I'm going to be like, are you trolling? Why would you take away the best tool in the game?
Right.
Instead of banning meta characters, what would happen is you would ban the characters that could counter you.
Yeah, I was gonna say.
So there would still be the meta. Even if you don't ban the characters that could counter you and you end up banning the meta, the only thing that's going to happen is that the same meta is going to be banned. So you're going to have a ban meta. And then after that, they're going to be like, okay, so what do we play now? And then from the remaining characters, they're going to find a meta.
Yeah, I was gonna say it's just gonna become a new meta. Yeah.
So I don't think that works. And Jeff himself went on another forum post and says, we're not excited about that. We don't have plans for that. So, and a lot of people like pro Overwatch players, streamers, analysts are really behind this ban thing. I'm like, it's to the point where I was like, am I missing something?
You start to wonder, like, yo, am I the stupid one in the room?
Yeah, because it's like, yo, how do you get more diversity?
Yeah.
Because I've played a game like Overwatch that has a ban system, Paladins, and that's exactly what happened. You have a ban meta, and then the other meta.
Yeah, the meta that happens after the bad meta. So it's like everybody bans these people at the start, and then it's like, okay, well, we know who we're going to pick now.
Exactly. I think what they're basing it off is because they have bans in MOBA games a lot. But in a MOBA game where you have like a really, really large cast, it's different.
Yeah, exactly. Like Smite, League, Dota. You have a massive amount of characters that you can choose.
Yeah. So it's different in those kind of games. I don't think it works in Overwatch, like at least in its current state. Maybe when they have like 50 heroes.
Yeah, when they expand their roster to include more, maybe it'll work. But I feel like Overwatch is a different type of game, you know?
Yeah, there's always going to be that best way of playing. And I don't think people trying to fix the meta that's a pointless thing to try to fix. Because the meta has nothing to do with game development, in my opinion. It's just human nature. I want to win. This is the comp that's going to help me win.
Honestly, it just comes down to straight statistics. There's going to be a certain combination of characters that their kit, their abilities is just so well balanced to win, and people are going to start to gravitate towards that. Obviously, it takes a little while for people to figure out what the meta is, but once they do, people are going to just gravitate to that because it's like, this is the combination of characters that has the most successful chance of winning. That's just it. And yes, there are cases where one person might be so good on a character that's not in the meta that it can shift the tides. But at the same time, we're talking about for the average and for the general public, there's going to be a certain set of characters that they complement each other so well that it just makes sense to use. But again, it starts to stray off a little bit when you get to people who are more skilled playing with people who aren't as skilled as them, because then they could dominate solo. But for the general people who play within ranks that is their rank, there will always be a meta.
Well, at the highest rank, there will be more of strict meta, simply because the difference in skill is
So minute. Yeah,
Yeah,
it's so minute.
people don't make a lot of mistakes, so you kind of have to min max. You have to maximize the amount of value that you can get from your pick. So you have to play the meta. You have to pick the strongest characters.
Yeah, the only time that you can really pick outside of meta is when you're playing against people who are just not in your skill bracket.
Yeah,
The only benefit I can see with a 3-2-1 setup is if it's a surprise. And I think that the best thing that Jeff and the dev team can do is, yes, have a 3-2-1 setup, but somehow try to work in a situation where someone can flex pick between tank or DPS.
I don't know if that works, because for me, even though the queue times are long, the quality of the games are better with 2-2-2, because I think that's just the way the game is meant to be played. The quality of games that you get with 2-2-2 is that much better. I don't mind waiting in a 10-minute queue to have a good quality game. That doesn't mean that all the games will be good quality. There's still people that would throw games. There's still people that would leave 2 minutes in and then have to wait on next 10 minutes after playing a 2-minute games. And there's sometimes I wait in queue longer than the game
is. That's unfortunate.
Yeah, sometimes I'll wait in queue for 15 minutes and then just roll a team, and then I'm back in queue 5 minutes later. They need to find a solution to that.
Yeah, well, Papa Jeff and the gang, they're working on some. I mean, at least they're being transparent and saying, this is what we're thinking, but we don't know if it's going to work, though.
Yeah, and they rarely do that. They rarely talk about what they are testing internally unless it's being pushed out soon. But I think this is an exception, because I don't think they'll do this. I don't think it would be fun.
Has this made it to the PTR?
No.
Okay, no. Gotcha.
And that's what a lot of people were actually saying. Instead of talking about it in a forum post, if you've made the patch, just throw it on the PTR. Let's test it, right? That's what the PTR is for. It doesn't need to go into the main game. Let's test it. Let's give feedback.
PTR, by the way, stands for Player Test Region, right?
Yeah, Player Test Region.
Yeah, so it's just a separate server that is full of the new updates and patches and stuff that they want to try before they push it out to the main game to everybody. So, people who are on the PTR select to be there. I honestly think that, yeah, they should push it out to the PTR first. You can play it so many times yourself within your own crew and all of that, but you will only ever know whether it does or does not work when you push it out to the public and have them toy with it.
The developer update is probably going to come either this week or next week, so this episode might be out after the developer update. So we should know what happens by the time this episode is released.
So then we'll give another update for the next episode, just talking about how things turned out and what Jeff is saying.
I would say, like, the state of the game now with the current tanks that's being played, it's fun. Like, Dive is back, yo.
You like it?
Yeah, it's fun. Basically, what's being played is Diva, Wrecking Ball, or Diva Winston.
I hate Wrecking Ball. I can't stand Ball. Freaking hamster. Hamtaro.
I think he's the strongest tank in the game now. So just because of his crazy mobility.
That stupid hook, man. That hook just pisses. I mean, like, not the hook. His grapple.
The
thing.
grapple, yeah.
It's the fact that he can spin around the point and I can't do anything about it. You literally have to have a May or a Roadhog or somebody who has crowd control to be able to stop this little thing from just spinning. And he just spins. I honestly think that they should just add in a simple feature where it's like, all right, if you spin for like more than 2 seconds, your grapple detaches. And that makes sense because, centripetal force will pull on the grapple and it'll break. Just make that a feature and I'll be fine. He can play however he wants. But you see that stupid spinning and how a lot of points have some kind of central thing that they can just spin around.
Yeah, a lot of points are circular in Overwatch.
That pisses me off. That's so, and especially as someone who's, and okay, it's not even like he's just spinning. He's spinning, and if you get close enough, he does damage.
Yeah. I think he does 50 damage if he hits you and knocks you back.
Exactly. Imagine having a team that is a May, and then like a Tracer. Like, no matter what, you can just get on the point and hold it.
What I'm seeing a lot, DPS wise, Doomfist is getting some play. Reaper's not getting too much play, but he's still kind of strong. They nerfed him a bit. He used to steal 40% of the damage that he did would heal him. Now it's 30%.
That's fine. I'll take that.
still noticeable, but it's not as good as it was. And Hanzo is trash, yeah.
And that's you saying that as a Hanzo player.
Unless you have good aim, like I could still play Hanzo, like in some situations, but a lot of the time, because they nerf Storm Arrow, so instead of doing 70 per shot, it does 60 per shot, and it feels like you're doing nothing. Like it honestly feels like a like a gimmick ability, unless you're hitting headshots.
Right.
So, but I could hit the headshots in quick succession. Like a lot of Tracer mains come after me because a lot of Hanzo players are bad, and I'll just it's like one, two headshots, you're gone.
Done. Yeah.
Let's try again.
You Hanzo kids and your Storm Arrow. I remember when we used to have Scatter Arrow. Those were the days.
I played Hanzo with Scatter. That's why I started playing Hanzo. As much as people hate Scatter, Scatter was better. I mean, worse than Storm Arrow. Scatter was trash, yo. Like it was.
Yeah, Scatter
awful.
only had value if you knew how to use it properly. Like honestly, the only way to really use it is if you just shot it at the ground of the person that you're shooting at, like right in front of them, or if they're like in a small room somewhere.
It was so situational. But Storm Arrow it has so much value. You get instant shots. You don't need to pull back the arrow. Just instant shots. For example, if a tracer comes after me, because that's the best way to use the scatter, just shoot her feet. But if she comes from high ground, what do you do? But with Storm Arrow, I can shoot her.
It gives you that instant. Yeah. No, that makes sense.
It was definitely, but now it's just trash. Unless you hit those headshots, those nasty headshots, it's awful.
Well, I mean, I'm not mad about it as somebody who plays Mercy, so that's fine
still
with me.
shoot you in your face though with the normal arrow.
Don't worry, Mercy keep that thing on her. You know what I'm saying? She keep that thing.
Mercy is probably not gonna get. She'll get play in some situations, but it's dive. Dive is meta. So
the best way I like to say it is the average Mercies won't get any play. I'm not an average Mercy. I'm top maybe 20. Not really, but I like to think that my Mercy play is pretty nice to be able to play in situations that Mercy should not traditionally be able to be played.
You should play Overwatch now, bro. 3-second cooldown on Diva boosters, bro.
That's fine. I got 1 second flight. I just need to see a teammate, except there's never any teammates around.
You got 1 second flight, but okay, think about this, right? She doesn't need to stop shooting you, even if you fly away from her. So you're not gonna heal, and she's gonna fly after you fly away.
Yeah, that's true. She doesn't even have to reload, and all it just takes Mercy taking a little bit of damage. Yeah, that's true.
Yeah. It's tough to be a support in Overwatch now. Like right now, the most fun roles are tank DPS. Tank players rejoicing everywhere because tank has been really awful to play for like the past 2 years. So yeah, tank players have some fun to look forward to.
Support queue is going to be so quick that Jeff's going to be like, okay, support queue is too quick now because we have no supports. We need to fix this.
Like I queued up for some games last night. I was like, whatever, support or DPS, and I got DPS instead of support. Yo, people, like the DPS and support queue were roughly the same amount of time.
Well, I mean, I'll probably try and play Overwatch this week and see what the current state is. Test it out for myself.
Yeah, you should try playing Mercy and try playing Ana or Zan.
Oh, hell no, I'm not touching Ana. I've traditionally always sucked at Ana, and yeah, nah.
And she's the only support hero that I play, along with Zen. So
I honestly think the main reason there are certain characters that I can't play is just because again I grew up on that console. Like not grew up, but I started Overwatch on that console mentality. So it's like sniper, no. Widow, no. You have to aim down it, no. That's not happening. No, I know I'm just not that good. I'm not good enough for that.
Well, I didn't start good. I was awful. Like, I'm not even good on Widow now. I think I checked my Widow win rate. Like, I'm still thinking about it. Because they added the feature where you could check your win rate for all seasons and heroes. What do you think my Widow win rate is here?
Like a solid 5%.
It's not. It's not much better, yeah. After like I think like 15 hours on Widow in all seasons, I've got a 29% win rate.
Damn, that is okay. I
But
mean,
my aim is good. Like critical accuracy is like 20%. So yeah,
you're
one in
sitting
five
right
shots is headshots.
between winning one out of every 3 or 1 out of every 4 games. You're right in there, like
I hit 1 in 5 headshots, and I lose 1 in 3 games.
Well, yeah, I really kind of wonder, like somebody like Kefri's widow stats or something.
Probably nasty or
Yeah,
disgusting.
I mean, I'll definitely check it out, see what it's like.
But like in the future, maybe you won't even need to aim on Widowmaker, yo. If Neuralink has something to say about it, if Elon Musk has something to say about it, just imagine that you hit the headshot and you hit the headshot.
Okay, yeah. So, all right, let's jump into Neuralink. Neuralink is a new company, was founded in 2016, wasn't really announced or revealed in any sort of capacity until 2017 by Starboy Elon Musk. And I say Starboy because this man is literally shooting for the stars. So, what is it? It is, and for those who are a bit squeamish, you might want to not listen to this part, but it is essentially what Elon Musk's vision is of interacting or interfacing with computers in the future. The idea is basically you get a few what they call threads implanted into your brain. These threads function as electrodes. What are electrodes? They're simply lengths of something that contain nodes that can either send electric pulses or also receive, aka read electric pulses. Now, traditionally, electrodes have kind of been shaped like big toothpicks or maybe something like chopsticks in a way, and they're basically put into the brain. The problem is traditional electrodes, they're very thick, and what happens is as you insert them into the brain, they damage blood vessels, and all of that, and all that stuff in the brain, because it's literally shifting matter out of the way. And that's a problem because that can cause brain damage. But with these very thin threads, these threads are so small, they're smaller than, a human hair. I think they come in at between 4 and 6 nanometers. They also have way more nodes that can both pick up and send out electrical pulses.
There's like thousands of them, right?
Yeah, so it's like 3,000, it's like 3,500 around there nodes on these threads. And these nodes are spread across, I believe, 96 threads. And these threads would be inserted into your brain by a machine, because this process is so delicate. What they do is they basically take a live scan of your brain while the machine is inserting it, and it will insert it and it will avoid any major arteries, blood vessels, all of that. They literally built this machine just for this task. And they've already tested it out. They've done it on mice. They've done it on a monkey, and a monkey has controlled a computer just using its brain, which is crazy. Elon also was not supposed to say that, but he gets excited. The idea is that now that these threads are implanted into your brain, you can interface with your computer because it can read brain signals, but at the same time, it can also send out brain signals. And these threads would basically have a little cutout, I guess, in your skull for an exit point, and it will lead to behind your earlobe. And at the back of your earlobe, there would be a little port, essentially, which is crazy to think of. And you snap on a piece that connects around your ear, and that's the main thing that's going to be doing the communication between your device and your brain.
That's where the process is, right?
Yeah. All of this stuff is very small, though. It's crazy. It's just crazy to think that this isn't like, this we want to do this. This is we've basically done this already, but we're just not ready to test it in humans. So he said that they're hoping to start testing in humans by the end of the year. It's gonna be interesting. Do you have any thoughts on it? Like,
Would you get one?
would I get one? That's actually a solid question. I don't know. And the reason why that's messing me up is because My answer isn't no. It's like you would think it's like, would you get one? No, of course not.
It's like, would you allow this company to implant a computer in your brain? A tech company?
It's like, yeah, I mean, honestly, if it was like Facebook, I'd be like, hell no. I'd be like, no, that's just not a no. But it's Elon Musk, and I mean, I got a soft spot for Musk, so it's like, yeah. I mean, it's Elon though.
But at the same time, it's Elon though. He could be crazy
He
sometimes.
can be, yeah. The thing about it is, the main reason why Elon wants to do this as well is because Elon has traditionally been very wary of AI. And he's firmly and very strongly believes that AI will be the future, and AI will very quickly in the future leave us behind in terms of advancement in processing. And I mean, technically AI already has passed us in these areas, but they're so small and so niche that it's not like they have actual true capability of doing anything right now. So his whole thing is, instead of using AI itself as a thing that's going to surpass humanity, let humanity still be in the loop and kind of combine with AI. And I mean, not a bad idea, right? But at the same, like, realistically speaking, it's either we get completely left behind or we kind of join them. So I don't know. It's one of those weird. It's a very gray area in, I think, both science and, well, I don't know what I would call this. It's not morals. It's a very weird crossroads between science and metaphysics. I don't know what to call it.
Well, just to be clear on this is not something that is like definitely guaranteed to happen. Simply because they need FDA approval.
Yeah.
The FDA traditionally has been against this type of product. Well, not necessarily against, just they are stricter against these kind of products. Because this is your brain you're talking about here, especially when it comes to implanting the threads into your brain.
And that's the main reason why they created a machine that can do this, like, with 100% success rate. And the thing about it too is, I think it's going to come regardless at some point in the future, honestly. But I think what's going to happen is going to first start off with people who have genuine disabilities. It's going to start off with people who need prosthetics and people who cannot control certain parts of their bodies.
And that's what they're targeting at first, right? The people that need to control a robotic arm, or the people that that already have mental disorders.
Yeah, and people with Parkinson's and people who also have seizures and so on. It's involuntary reactions happening in your brain. So it's essentially like, okay, let's just override those with other electrical signals that won't cause such harsh outcomes. The thing about Neuralink is it's one of the few things that can not just read, especially something this small, but it can also output, so it can also stimulate electrical signals in your brain, which technically means that, let's say it's somebody who has a mechanical prosthetic that is connected to this. If they think, let me move my arm, let me squeeze my hand, then not only can it read those signals, but then let's say if you were squeezing something like a cup and there is feedback from that. So, it's like when you're gripping a cup, you can feel it and you cannot squeeze anymore, or you could, but it would break. There's some kind of feedback. That means essentially now there can be a two-way stream. So it's information going out saying to squeeze, but then there's also information going back into the brain saying there's pressure here, which means I'm holding something. Because somebody who has a prosthetic and they grab something, if they're looking away, they can't necessarily tell that they're grabbing something. We can, because it's our body and we have the nerves that, can feel that. But for them, they wouldn't really be able to tell. But now with this and that prosthetic kind of giving that feedback saying like, yeah, you're squeezing something, that basically makes it into just a regular arm, except they could upgrade it.
Yeah. So it's a better arm.
Exactly. And that's honestly that's the crazy thing that I think about it too. It's gonna start, yes, with people who need it, but then it's gonna start to go towards people who are like, I could be better, and that's where the future of cyborgs would kind of start.
One of the future features that they say they like to implement, or could it be implemented, is that you could download other people's memories. Basically, someone could send their memories to you. Like for someone who, like, if you want to try something, like you wanted to try a roller coaster or something, but you never went on a roller coaster before, and you're a bit skeptical, a bit scared. Someone could send you their memories of being on a roller
Experiencing a
coaster,
roller coaster.
and you could decide for yourself if you want to do it.
The thing that starts to get weird with a lot of stuff too is I know that there is currently another project. I cannot remember the name. I will try to link it down below. But there's another project that was going on where scientists were trying to figure out how to read people's dreams. It's like have a visual output of what you are dreaming. And what they did was they basically had a patient who was conscious. He was not sleeping. And they showed him images. So they would show him, like, let's say a red square. Then they would show him a chair. Then they would show him a circle. And they would show him all of these different images, and they would read the brain signals that his brain is generating when it sees those shapes, or it sees that color, it sees all of these things. And what happens is, as they do that, they're creating a database of, okay, when his brain signals look like this is what he's seeing. And now they're like, all right, go to sleep. And then they measure, and they have an algorithm essentially put together a rough visualization of, all right, his brainwaves are looking like this. He's probably seeing this color, this shape. And it starts to put together this rough, very rough dream like video output of what he might be thinking, imagining. Now, Elon Musk, being the CEO of Tesla and the founder, one thing is autopilot works very much on hive mentality, right? A hive mind. It's a case of a Tesla that has passed through a certain area on autopilot. As long, like, if it passes through a really hard turn, but that Tesla does that 5 times, 10 times, and it learns it, somebody else's Tesla who comes on that same path doesn't need to, like, relearn it. All of that information is already there.
Yeah, it's uploaded to their servers that send to your car.
Exactly. Send it to the cars, right? The thing is, everybody's brains are so different. Like, generally they work the same, but there is always going to be a slight difference. But the thing is, like, if Neuralink ever was able to build up a database of, they were able to say, like, all right, when this person sees red, this is what their brain waves look like. And then they do that across their entire user base. Like, let's say if they had 1 million people, and then they were able to find out, like, okay, the average of what red is, or what red appears as a brainwave is this. It's one of those things where it can start to roughly map out what a person's brainwaves look like when they see a certain object.
But even if you get an average, there'll always be outliers, right?
There will always be outliers, yeah. So it will never be perfect. Like, the only way to have it perfect is to have it very much key in and honed down to you. But you might be able to get a general or rough visual of anybody's dream. But again, outliers can definitely skew that very heavily.
I wonder if there would be any way to disable it. Because, all right, I understand, like, if you take out the chip, the N1 chip, that's what they're calling it.
Yep.
The processor, that's the external part that Imani was talking about. If you take that off, then I guess you're not connected anymore.
Yeah, you're not connected anymore.
But how would that affect you mentally? I guess it won't take away any of your memories or capabilities, would it? Because after you learn it,
it's the best way that we can kind of think about it as is it's a tool, right? So the whole thing with it, and again, what we're talking about here is technically, like, super advanced. It's just very theoretical, and this is like what we think it might become. Initially, when Neuralink comes out, it's probably going to be used for prosthetics, and then Elon said himself, probably interfacing with your smartphone. So that's a whole different area. But I think The thing about it is just like how when you're driving a car, it's like you have very much a sense of the space of the car. As in, when you're driving, you have this spatial awareness of, all right, I can get this close to the car in front of me without hitting it. Or the spatial awareness of just like, even when you're driving well, it happens when you drive a bigger vehicle, but you get the spatial awareness of, if I turn, I'm not going to clip the corner because I know the size of my vehicle, kind of thing, right? It's kind of like one of those things of you become the car. I don't know how to explain it,
It
but
becomes an extension of you.
exactly. And I honestly think that that's kind of how Neuralink would be for a while at first. I think it's going to become a case of it is an extension of you. So it's like when I get out the car, I'm still me and I can still function. Just like if I think if you remove Neuralink, it's still going to be you and you can still function.
I understand that it'll still be you because I mean you were you before Neuralink.
Right.
My thing is that okay, so one of the uses they were talking about is paraplegics. So they're thinking that it could give them the ability to move some of their body parts again. Now, what I'm thinking is after it gives you that ability to move around, if you take off the chip, does that affect you?
Uh, I'd say yeah. I'd probably I'd say it probably would, yeah. I'd say it would probably be akin to somebody who has had a body part amputated.
I don't know about that because remember this is just a mental thing. This is telling the nerves like, all right, okay, fire up. We need to move this leg, and after your brain learns that this is the nerves that needs to fire up to move this leg or to move this body part, would taking off the chip affect that?
I don't think it would be as extreme as having a part amputated, but I feel like it would be akin to, in the sense of, if the Neuralink is truly something that can not only read your brain signals to tell you, like tell a certain part to move a certain way, but it also gives that feedback, it almost becomes akin to having that limb. Having a limb, you're going to have a lot more sensation points, in the sense of your skin is full of nerves. So it's like almost every inch of your skin, if you touch it, you'll be able to feel. Obviously, like a prosthetic or something would not be able to do that. But I think it's going to be a case of it's going to come close to that. So when you lose that sensation of getting feedback from your limb, or when you try to move it, it doesn't move, it's going to be akin to amputation. You know what I mean?
No, it's just like you lose that body part, kind of weird.
Yeah, because you no longer have any feedback coming from it, and then you're also not able to control it anymore.
That makes sense. I'm just thinking that because it's supposed to be a tool to help you recover, that after a while you may not need to have it. Because as much as I think it's cool, I don't think relying on it is something that's healthy. It's kind of like relying on your smartphone, right?
Yeah, but then the comparison is we still do it anyway, right?
I mean, I don't necessarily rely on my smartphone. Like, I'm not someone, I like my smartphone. I know
Uh-huh.
that I'm not like the average person when it comes to that. But because there's a lot of memes, it's like, oh, you forget your smartphone. And you feel like, nah, sometimes I forget my phone home and I'll be like, ah, okay, that's all right.
Right.
But for someone else, they would need to go home and get their phone. There's just no way you could be out without your phone, right?
I think that's more the average person. Maybe the older generation, not so much. Like for me, gosh, when I really think about it, I have my phone on me like 90% of the time. It really is probably the only thing that I almost always have on me, except like my chain. Like I have a chain around my neck, but my phone is with me literally almost always. Like I leave it charging when I go to take a shower or something, you know, but like if I'm outside of the house, chances are my phone is with me.
I mean, same, but a lot of times I'm not using it. And that's the thing. Because with a smartphone, you could turn it off or just like have it available. But with this, it's always on.
Well, I mean, again, it's one of those things where I think you would be able to turn it off, or you can just take off the attachment that goes from behind your ear.
But if it affects you in the way that, like, we're thinking,
Like we were just saying,
you
right?
become reliant on it.
But is it bad for somebody who has a prosthetic to be reliant on something like
No,
that?
no, it's not bad for them. But remember that technology is not only going to be for them in the future. They want to make it for everyone, just as an extension of ourselves. And it will get to the point where it would be even worse than how we use our smartphone now.
Yeah, yeah. I honestly think that we're only going to get more and more integrated with tech. I think that's just the future.
I don't mean to sound like an old man, but I don't know if I like that. Even as someone who loves tech, sometimes I like getting away from tech. I don't always like to be connected because I think I was telling you the other day that I set timers on
Yeah.
my apps now just so I could disconnect sometime because being connected to the internet, knowing everyone's thoughts. Like I don't need to know what you thought about having for breakfast. Like that's not information that I need to have, but it's information that I get constantly.
Hmm.
And sometimes I just want to disconnect from that. And I feel like with Neuralink, you either won't be able to or you won't want to because it'll just become such an integral part of you.
I think that's one of those things where it becomes a question as a society and as a species that we'll kind of have to face at some point where, generally speaking, in hospitals there is a procedure that most boys go through as soon as they come out the womb, or also like when most girls come out, they're asked, their parents like, do you want the ears pierced? And it might become a situation where it's like, hey, do you want this installed? And I think that is a problem. I think having something like that installed on someone who cannot consent at the time, that's a no-no. So I think it's one of those things where the people who get it, they have to know what they're going to get into before they get it. I don't know if humans are responsible enough to do that. I really think there has to be some level of restraint, but at the same time, realistically speaking, we don't have that kind of restraint, and we can see this as like, if our smartphones are the test, we can see that, well, most people fail. I fail. There's going to be a time when having some kind of direct interface with the internet or the world is just going to become normal, and it's going to damage a lot of people, but society will say that the benefits of it outweigh the negatives.
I honestly think it would, but we need to change the way some things work.
Oh yeah, 100%.
Like cloud chasing is a big thing because of social media now,
Mm-hmm.
and they've been like Instagram has. I don't know if they rolled off no, they didn't roll out the update yet. That took
Oh,
out
not showing the
not
likes.
showing the likes and stuff.
They rolled out in Canada.
Oh, cool.
Yeah, one of my friends sent me a screenshot, and I was like, "You only see no likes no more."
And I think that's kind of where we need to go to stop people from to stop these self-destructive behavior because we'll get to a stage where you won't be able to avoid the internet.
Yes. Damn, now I think about it, yo, it's crazy. Just because Elon Musk might like low key be like the super villain, because
That's that's the whole thing with Elon Musk. Is like anytime I see his name in an article, it's like, okay, which one are we getting here?
I mean, because when you think about it, it's he's so owner of SpaceX, owner of Tesla, owner of Boring Company, and owner of Neuralink. And his SpaceX company is, launching a cluster or a series of satellites called Starlink. And it is meant to circle the globe, as in, we're talking about thousands of them, which is almost doubling the amount of satellites that we're putting into, like, just the project Starlink is probably going to almost double the amount of satellites that will be in space. And these will be circling the globe in a net shape that will basically provide satellite internet to the entire world. And now combine that with Neuralink, like, it gets crazy, man. Like, I honestly don't think he's doing it with the intent of, like, a negative intent. At least I hope not. I really do have some kind of faith that he's not doing it with a negative intent. But the reality is it can be used, or humans will abuse it.
That's the thing, right? His intent doesn't necessarily matter because there's going to be someone after him and someone after him, and it's going to go down the line until eventually. I mean, I think past history has taught us that we could be pretty shitty, especially when you have power over people or influence over people.
Well, that's very true. It's just gonna suck if Facebook ever gets their hand on anything to do with Neuralink, just because all of a sudden, if you have this thing implanted in your brain, and by the way, like I said, it can also send signals back. So essentially, it can come down to the point where maybe you get an email, you get the alert in your head, not even like a vibration or something, but like literally like in your head. I don't know how your brain would interpret it, and that says you have a notification, and then watch Facebook's gonna come and be like, "Oh, we could do that. How about we put ads?"
Ads, baby.
Yo,
They just watch like they Facebook just watching your brain is like it's free real estate.
real estate. There's a very interesting video by a channel that I follow on YouTube called Cold Fusion. He does these very mini documentaries. He's an Australian guy. Dagogo is his name. Super cool dude. Been following him for a long time, and he does very in-depth research about a lot of topics that have to do with tech. I'll link his video down below, and I'll also link the presentation that Elon gave about Neuralink with his company, with the people who are working on it currently, and just a few other articles. And you guys can check it out yourself. Read it, watch the videos, form your own opinion. A lot of the stuff that we're talking about is just speculative as what the impacts of it becoming mainstream are. It's not where it's at now. It's nowhere near what we are saying it is right now. I mean, I would say not nowhere near, but it's very much in its infancy still.
Yeah, still.
So, but we just wanted to talk about the future implications of it all.
You want to get into the Apple stuff?
Oh, all right. How do we even start this? Because this is crazy.
Just like go ahead first, yo. Say the start.
All right. So here's a simple stat, right? This is from Mr. Who's the Boss. He's a tech YouTuber.
That's like the insanely good looking dude, right?
Yeah. The English one.
I got so mad the first time I saw him. I was like, yo, you're not supposed to be this good looking, bro.
It's like, yo, you a little bit too good looking. Calm down. You can't have it all. Right?
And then it's like his voice is like silky smooth. I was like, bro, what the hell?
Yeah. Hella smooth, bro. And it's funny because I watched his recent video where, I don't know, he either hit like a subscriber milestone and he was like, yo, I honestly didn't think that I would ever end up here. Like, his early videos weren't bad by any means, but he's done a great job with growing his channel. So congratulations to Mr. Who's the Boss out there in England doing his thing.
Yeah.
But he posted on Twitter, Apple in 2019 accounted for about 15% of all smartphone shipments, right? 15% of all smartphone shipments, but 66% of all smartphone profits. That's like saying, like, how 1% of the population of the world owns 90% of the wealth. It's not that bad, but still 15% of all smartphones. Think about it like this. If Apple sold 15 smartphones out of 100 smartphones, they made over 66% of the profit of all 100 smartphones sold. Now, to put it in perspective, I'll also link these down. I'll link the tweet and I'll just link the images down below as well. Their handset profit trend, like, line curve is ridiculous. Like, Samsung comfortably is sitting between the 20% and at the lowest point, like 10%, 8% around their profit margin mark. Companies like Huawei, Oppo, Vivo, Xiaomi, they're sitting very much in like the 5%, maybe going up to 8%. So Samsung is a bit above everybody else. Samsung's highest point is 20%, profit. Apple is comfortably sitting at 65 to 70% at their lowest, and at their highest over 80% of a profit margin.
Oh, no, but the iPhone has to be expensive because it has high quality materials in it, right?
Bruh.
because it's just more premium than all the other phones. It's just that much better. That's why it's so expensive. I think anyone who sees that stat and still think Apple is in price gouging people, they're just gone.
And this is just a smartphone market.
This is just smartphones. Like, just Apple's wearables alone has a $10 billion revenue.
That's more than some company's entire revenue.
That's like a Fortune 500 company.
They'd be in like the top half of the Fortune 500 with that revenue alone.
Just revenue.
And you know the crazy thing about the graph too is in 2018 quarter 4, Samsung and most of these people took a dip. Apple went up. So while everybody is at their lowest, Apple is not just like an arm and a leg above. They are well above and pushing up in the profit margin area, which is just insane to me.
The iPhone 11 is just selling, It's like selling like hotcakes.
The only Apple product I own is my Mac, and that was because I had to get it for school.
Even though I know the iPhone is a good phone, I just can't bring myself to buy it just because of what I know. It's like, how much of this is actually the phone and how much of this is just
Apple tax.
Just you saying, give me your money.
Yeah, I mean, the crazy thing is they can do it though. They can do it, and people buy it by the boatloads. So, and then like you were saying, so Apple's selling very well right now, right? In China.
They were up in the stock market by a good bit because they're getting more revenue in China. And I think that's largely because of the US ban on Huawei not being able to work with American companies. And
with Android especially.
Yeah, that would be the biggest American company that's influential to them would be Google. They can't put Android in their devices anymore. And Huawei in China, or just globally, they make high-end premium smartphones. So that space of premium devices is kind of open because, well, at least a spot got open. And it seems like Apple is filling it because the only other companies they have to compete with would be Oppo, which is, it's big, but it's not on Huawei's level.
Yeah.
Or what?
They would have to do Oppo and OnePlus.
Oppo, OnePlus, maybe Samsung.
Yeah, like a few other smaller. I mean, like Samsung is the biggest competitor Apple has. Oh, and by the way, it's not that Huawei can't use Android. Android is open source, so they can use it, but they cannot connect to the Play Store anymore. So that means you're cutting off the umbilical cord. And the thing is, Huawei has been prepared for this. Huawei has been developing their own OS and their own app store and all of that behind the scenes for a long time now because they've seen this coming, but it's not ready.
Yeah, it's not Android. And the other thing is, you don't get security updates.
That's the whole thing. One of the big features of the Google Play Store is every app you download, it's secure. It's not going to mess with your phone or anything. These security rollouts, these security updates, these security screenings and so on for apps, it's very much an intrinsic part of the Play Store, especially in this day and age where we've spoken about it. Cybersecurity is a huge thing, and your phone is a lot of the times your lifeline when it comes to so much of your data. But I don't know. We'll see how things turn out with Huawei. They're definitely not gonna die. It's not gonna kill them. Huawei is not just a mobile phone company. They are a communication infrastructure company.
Yeah, Huawei is too big. Huawei is too big for this to affect them. Well, it would affect them. It's too big for this to kill them.
Yeah. It'll affect their pockets. Their bank accounts might not be as fat anymore, but they'll be fine.
Yeah.
So I think that's everything that we needed to talk about, right? We hit Overwatch, we hit Neuralink. That one was a bit more of just a opinion piece. Then ended it off with a little bit of Apple tax. So thank you guys for listening. Again, all links for everything, whether it be Neuralink, the Huawei stats, or the Apple tax stuff, all of that is going to be down below. and as well as the links for any social media. That's Twitter and Discord. We also have a few other things. Again, I'm going to be saying this for a while because work has gotten really busy and it's hard to keep up. But there's a lot of plans for stuff, and I'm hoping that this year is going to be a big development, and we're going to be rolling out a lot of things when it comes to social media and just trying to grow the podcast, and also getting it on YouTube with some decent visuals. I don't want to just put the podcast on YouTube with just audio and a black screen or anything like that. So trying to get at least some visuals for those who might sit there with, I don't know why you would just sit there watching it, but I don't know, who knows. So we're working on stuff. So stick with us, and we're hoping 2020 is going to be a good year. God damn, it's been a rough month, man. It's been a rough start to 2020. There's been a lot of stuff that's happened. But thank you guys for listening. And last thing I'll say is, unfortunately, we did have the passing of Kobe Bryant and his daughter, and as well as 7 other passengers who were on the flight, on the helicopter. Well, I guess it is a flight. And that's kind of rocked not just the basketball community, but just the community in general. A lot of people, whether you played sports or like sports, chances are you knew who Kobe Bryant was. And, just wishing the best for his family, his wife, and his 3 remaining kids, and as well as the other families that have been affected as well. Send any prayers to them, I guess. Not somebody who says that often, but it's definitely a rough time and they're going to need it.
Yeah, definitely.
So on that unfortunately somber note, we'll end this episode. Thank you guys again for listening. And we'll talk to you guys later.
Peace.